Hello and welcome to my guide on Condi Reaper roaming. So this first fight is part of my other guides. I just like do a little bit of talking before the build and I talk more specific mechanics. But this first one you're going to see is a bit rough, and I wasn't even going to make a guide this soon, except I really only, before I started making this video, just like a few days ago, practiced on this build for maybe 45 minutes to an hour at most. So you can see, if you know necro, this build is easier to learn. If you don't, you can still learn it relatively easy. It just helps to know the weapon skills. But I'm also going to talk about rotations. There's a stun lock thing in there you're going to see me do later on that's really helpful. And you see how tough this build can be, how much punishment it can take. Because in this video, past this rough patch, you're going to see this build excels against multiple enemies at the same time. And you're going to see that in a bunch of clips even before I go into the build discussion. So just hang in there, just kind of watch the flow, watch what we do. I'll describe some stuff as we go, but I'll talk more about rotations and build mechanics after we go through the build section. And for this one, see how low my health is? I'm going to back off a bit because he's a necro with siphon health. And I'm just going to kind of range him from back here and put him down that way until my shroud comes off cooldown. And we'll drop more damage. And I could have stomped him by now, but I did not. So this was my warm-up fight for the guide, but this I think you'll like. So this is interesting. See that wheelbender I've targeted now, the Diamond Legend. I ran into him earlier in our guild run. I was on healer. He died and he messaged me some really rude texting things. So I basically told him he had self-esteem issues and blocked him, but he wanted me to 1v1 him, and I was on a heal brand healer at that point. Now the irony is I defeated him 1v2 with a build that I didn't have much practice with. So I wish I could have told him that. And honestly, I hope he's watching this. I hope you're watching this video and just look that hubris isn't good. Pride before a fall, and there's no need to be toxic. You lost. Big deal. We all lose. Just own it like a man. Okay, anyway, enough of that, but that's my problem. See how I targeted wasn't paying attention where I was targeted on the worm, so this makes life harder. Now I have knockdowns because more people come down. I end up finishing this guy off anyway, but if I hadn't targeted that worm I might have done better because I'm going to end up losing as more people show up. But I already took down 2, and I'm going to almost drop a third. 2 I completely finished, and there he goes. Bye-bye. And so this guy might have had, except that worm that I had attacked by mistake. So watch your targeting, see how that can affect you. That was a bummer. So I'm going to lose this one, spoiler alert, but I already took out 2 enemies, so I feel pretty good about that. So this build is great at taking a beating and punishment. And now I'm done. Funny part is when I'm on staff, I've been running heal and scourge. I want to use the transfusion blood tray, thinking I can trigger the marks myself and heal myself. I can't, so I died, ran back. That same group is trying to take our towers. Now on there's 3, so this is 1 versus 3. Granted, not too much to brag about because they are half health and have some skills on cooldown, but still that's 3 sources of damage you got to deal with. Just shows how tanky this build can be with that carapace trait, which is that mark you see above my health bar that's looks like a black triangle in a green field, the doorway in the middle or whatever, with the numbers, the counter numbers. That is carapace, and that we'll talk about when we get to the build section. It's very important. It's what makes you tanky, what makes you do damage. So that's quite interesting. Alright, he's playing peekaboo around the columns. That's very good tactics. I didn't want to leave this guy alone to heal. I'm going to throw some more Condi on him. Try to stomp, couldn't do it. He did a very good pull there. Went right into he went to shroud, so did I. And we got that chilled to the bone. Love that skill. Okay, my shroud's ready, so I'm going to pop into that shortly. There's skill 5, which I love. It's always nice to face off Reaper against Reaper and you win. and he's higher ranked than I am. Most of these guys were. I kill a lot of diamonds in this video, and that's great. So, not a problem. Okay, I res him. I'm waiting there to come back, so I lay my marks early in this next clip, and I'm waiting. This guy was smart. He pops it with his Warclaw. Okay, and this guy is Condi. I don't know if he's the Burn brand. It looks like that's what he's running, which is fine. Again, 1v3, but I think that guy with a target on his head is a diamond dragon hunter, so he's gonna like range a little bit. Thankfully I had some stability there. And I hung out on the boss, obviously multiples. This boss is a pain to fight with people in here because he stuns, he blinds, does all this stuff. So yeah, I had help for this one, so I can't really brag that I won a 1v2 on this one. But again, this build manages multiples very well. It can be tanky if used properly. And of course the other man leaving his guy, that's awful. I at least would have tried 1v1. Okay, time to go over the build. So we start with obviously the gear. We have Trailblazers with Trapper runes, okay? All through the gear. I'm also using some malign infusions. Those aren't necessary, but they help. Your trinkets are also Trailblazers. Your weapons are also Trailblazer stats, and I'm using Pistol, Torch, and Staff. Another variant is Scepter. I got this build from Guild Gen, although I made maybe like one small change. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so you're going to use Sigil of Doom on your pistol. You're going to use Sigil of Celerity on your torch because there are a lot of interrupts in this build and dazes and such. And then for your staff, use Superior Sigil of Energy and Cleansing. Alright, now let's go over to our relic. We're using Relic of the Wayfinder. Gain increased movement speed, which is further increased while out of combat. When you enter combat, gain a burst of speed. And as you've seen, this is useful because you're trying to kite these guys a little bit. Although that's what they recommend. I do that sometimes. Other times I take a more direct approach because if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I'm more aggressive in my playstyle. Okay, let's talk about the build, the traits. Excuse me. Okay, so we have Curses, Death Magic, and Reaper. So Curses, critical hits, bleeding, Plague Sending, so this is good. So this build, even though it's squishy, where it gets its toughness is from Death Magic and from the ability to keep eliminating the conditions. So your first attack after entering Shroud transfers conditions. Okay, gain Fury when you enter Shroud, so Shroud is a big part of your burst. And then Path of Corruption, Shroud skill 2, now converts boons on your enemies into conditions, which is nice. And that helps because Carapace is conditions driven. And this also helps is increase critical hit damage for each condition on the foe, so that helps with damage as well. And Weakening Shroud just enfeebles foes when you enter the Shroud, so that's nice. So you take less damage that way as well, in addition to what you're going to see in this next line of the armor and toughness you gain with Carapace is cool. So, Death Magic. Okay, gain Carapace when entering Shroud. Carapace gives you 100 toughness, 50 power, 50 condition damage. Okay, Shroud removal, lose a condition when you enter Shroud, and every few seconds while you remain in Shroud. Gain Carapace when removing conditions from yourself. So that is useful, because the more stacks you have, the better off you are. The tougher you are, the more damage you do, and so forth. Alright, Soul Comprehension, your passive life force generation from nearby deaths is increased. Kills grant Carapace when you enter Shroud, gain life force per, so that also increases your life force bar here. Okay, Carapace stacks grant power and condition damage, so you're getting that per stack, which is nice. Beyond the Veil, take reduced condition damage while at above the threshold of the Carapace stacks. So this helps you stay alive. Because other than that, this is really quite a squishy build. But you've seen how I can linger close to death and still come out on top. Okay, Corruptor's Fervor, inflicting a condition on a foe, grants Carapace, gain pulsing protection while at or above the Carapace threshold. So this is important too because this will help you, again, take less damage. Okay, Reaper. Obviously we're using it for Shroud. Death Shroud is replaced with Reaper Shroud. Blah blah blah. Okay, Relentless Pursuit. This is cool because even outside of Shroud, these conditions gain a 33% duration decrease. When you're in Shroud, it's 66%, and that is very useful, especially on a kiting build such as this. Again, you see me use it more direct, but I do some kite and some running and mobilizing and stuff. Okay, when you inflict fear, you inflict chill, which is good because chill gives you bonuses. Striking a chilled foe grants might and life force. See, there we go. Chill lasts longer, and chilled foes take increased strike damage from your attacks. And chill deals damage over time. So chill is really good for this, and a lot of our skills do exactly that. So let's talk about the utility skills first today. So this heals. You gain life force and strike foes. Deal increased damage, so that's nice. It's got a low cooldown, 16-second cooldown. That's very useful. Shout. This damages foes around you and chills them. You transfer conditions to each foe you strike. Deal additional damage. Transfer additional conditions to foes struck within melee range. Okay, so I usually try to drop that when I'm close to them if I can. This skill is dynamite, especially for kiting and stuff. And I'll use this to set. You saw me use this to set people up for this. So you create a shadowy tether and become spectral, consuming conditions for life force. You may also return to your initial position by using the spectral recall, which is what I use it for. This is also a good stun break. My problem is sometimes I use it early and it gets me hung up, but with the Shroud that kind of helps save me, as you've seen. This one they recommended using Fleshworm just so you can port to it, which is nice because you use it, and then when you use it again it consumes the Fleshworm but ports you to them. Again, that's good for mobility. I haven't used that once. Maybe I should try. I can see where it would definitely be useful, but instead I wanted to go with Signative Spite, and not to use it on passive. I use it more active because remember, conditions do what? Gives you all kinds of, it really feeds this line and also increases your critical hit. So increases your damage and other boons that you get. So I went with this instead. It's got a pretty long cooldown, but if you find yourself getting stunned or locked a lot or having a hard time with that, change this out for a stun break or the worm. And last of all, one of my favorites, Chilled to the Bone. This gives you stability and quickness and also stuns them for 3 seconds. And you've seen as we went, I figured out the good stun lock rotations, kind of like use a stun lock warrior, what they do and you're just very frustrated. That's what this does, and it was kind of nice. And it also works on multiple areas. It'll give you a break and give you, basically you get 3 free seconds of cooldown time while you're damaging them. Okay, so we've looked at this part. Let's look at weapon skills. So I'm using pistol. I use pistol over scepter with torch because I like the daze. Again, I'm doing the stun daze lock thing, and that's really useful and frustrating to other players. Not that I do it because it's frustrating, but they're frustrated because they're basically helpless while I'm damaging them. Okay, so Torment is key too, because especially if you're running kiting and they're chasing you, they're taking more damage while they move. Okay, this is good, gives them vulnerability and Torment. This stuns, poison and weakness, which I like. This is Fire Torment, and this is Knockdown Torment. So I'm using all these skills, but that's really good. So then Staff is the other one. Regen and Bleeding, and you got a range of 1200, which is nice. And then Chilled. Remember, Chilled is key in this, and Poison reduces their healing. Conditions, again, Transfer will get rid of some of that, and of course Fear, which brings the chill, which again does that stun. It's not a stun, but it messes so they can't use skills, which is nice. Alright, last thing we're going to talk about is Shroud skills. So these just regular chain of attack. Nice. This is, you're going to blind them at the end of your, when this channels. You also get boons on them converted to conditions. This you want to pop, use for stability. and then if you pop it again, which I like to do, you give them fear and more chilled, because then that gives them time. If they don't have stability or something, they have to clear that or stun break it, and you get free hits. Okay, this one is spin. Yep, this is your damage for you inflict a condition for each strike, which is nice, and they get poisoned. So, and then you have the Shroud 5 with chilled, which I like to lead with if I can, because again, free hits. So this has a lot of stun CC, which Sigil Celerity is great for. So my rotation basically goes, if you've seen like this, I usually try to open with 2 and 3 and 5. Not necessarily maybe 2, 3, 5 or 2, 5, 3. At some point there I will throw probably Signet and this one, and then I'm going to weapon swap. I'm going to use 5, might throw another one down on real quick, and while they're stunned, then I'm going to come in with Chilled to the Bone, and then I go to Reaper, and I went to 5, 4, 3, 2, which, as I think about it, if I use this in the future, what I'm thinking is, after you do 5, you do Chilled to the Bone, Shroud, do skill 2, 5, 4, 3, and then 2 will be off cooldown. You hit them with 2 again before you exit Shroud. But usually they're dead by then, but that just might be a useful thing to just get extra blind and extra stuff out of that as well, condition transfer. So that's basically kind of how I did it. You saw in the fights, there's some more fights after this, and you saw this build is great against multiple enemies at the same time. Especially if they converge on you. If you encounter like a ranged guy in there, I would probably focus on the range because the melee is going to follow you anyway, and so that allows you to still take out the other guy at the same time. This is, as you saw, very squishy, so sometimes getting in close for a stomp I have to back off or come in and do damage, just because you lose health pretty quick when not in Shroud. Or what you notice I do, I'll go into Shroud and then get close and damage, or do my stomp, because you can also skill 3 to give you stability while you stomp, so you're not interrupted. So either way, that is it. Let's get back to the action. Alright, halftime's over now. I figured out the sequence. There's a lot of stun locks. I'm going to do 5, 2, 3 for an interrupt, then 5 for the down. I add a Signet with some conditions, freeze them, go into Reaper 5, and see the guy didn't even get a chance to defend himself. It was that quick. So that is kind of how you want to run your rotation. Stun lock on stun lock on stun lock is a benefit. Okay, so that worked well. This guy was attacking my stuff. I came out and surprised him. Same thing. 2, 5, 3, 5 for fear. Freeze him. 5 again. Like I said, in the future I'd probably go 5, 2, 4, 3, 2 for Shroud once they're frozen, but that worked. Okay, that guy's done. Next up, this guy, I didn't realize till after that he was new. Sorry, bro, but again, practicing. 2, 3, 4, now I go into 5. Remember my stun lock. 2, 3, 5. Chilled to the Bone. 5, and my man's toast. And you don't want to linger in Shroud any longer than you need to, but sometimes you do need that just to survive, and use skill 2 to get away. So this was consecutive. A lot of these fights from here on out were consecutive, whether multiples at the same time or consecutive. Did get him with an interrupt, but didn't get him much with the other stun locks. But it's still viable. You just got to move around. And of course, I'm doing a big no-no here. You've seen my videos. You really don't want to hang out in a Reaper, next to a Reaper when they're in a Shroud. That's when you want to kite them. But I'm feeling kind of powerful, although here I am almost dying. But let's go into Shroud and finish it off. And toast. Okay. So this one was funny. This guy surprised me. I thought he was an Ellie at first. Didn't realize till after I ended up winning this fight that he was a Condi Zerker. I ran this way back, so if I'd been paying attention, I'd know what he was doing. I was just trying to keep space and spam my skills at him, trying to use the sun locks. He's got some stability, so that makes it kind of challenging. But look at the Condi loadout he's got. He's got some cleanses, but I'm going to keep laying them on him. That's why I like the Signet of Spite. Okay, of course, skill 7 transfers conditions. See, I'm immobilized, but it's going down a little bit quicker. And you have Shroud. That's what saved me. I mean, look at how low I am in this whole fight. And really, a lot of these fights, I barely am the last person standing, but that just again shows the tankiness of this build and what it can do. Okay, I'm gonna go back into Shroud, more out of preservation. There we go. Perfect. Just enough time. Use that as a stun break, but I didn't. Did it wrong. So close. Chilled to the bone again. Spite. Okay. Now look at that. He's just too many Condis for him to manage. That's why I've kind of liked, other than my power dagger pistol Daredevil for roaming. I prefer Condi like this in my Mirage one that I did a guide on. It's just, especially for you get these boon factories like the Elementalists and the Engineers and even the Untamed, it just wears them down, especially if you're on a build that you can kite them with. This guy almost had me. Another guy coming in. This is an opponent, so green coming to help red, but I've done the same thing. It's a necro, so I'm going to try to create some distance. He's going to run through my wells. Thank you. Oh, he went around him. I thought he was going to run through him. Okay, let's see if I can't put him on the defensive a little bit. Now he's in Shroud, so I got to back up a little bit. That didn't work. He probably had skill 3 active, but he's already half a bar down. So look at all those red behind him. Think they didn't come. That other green guy might have come to help his buddy out, but now with the red, he's taken off. Alright, and I got him, and I'm going to have to make some room. Look how low my health is. And I'm going to heal up. The other thing about Shroud, too, is you have free health while you're waiting for your healing and stuff to cool down. Now, his buddy did come around the other side. So now I'm fighting multiple here. So this was just a fight of multiple fights, but consecutive too, with your stuff on cooldown. This just goes to show. Oh, and what is this guy? Is he a Willbender? Can't remember. Okay, see, I deliberately dropped that there so I can come to the other side. He's a Dragon Hunter. And I'm going to port around. That was good. That's the one good thing about the Spectral Walk is you can change. That's where I think the Worm would come into play, but I really like having the Signet of Spite for that, just to load them again with conditions. Look at that, so close. This is a close fight between the two of us. I think I just got lucky. Okay, I'm going to back off a bit, heal up. Let's wait. See, I keep spamming my staff because I'm used to healing with transfusion allies trigger marks, but they don't. So I'm just going to finish this guy in Shroud just to save me some life so I don't die. Alright, that was another good one. And I seem just a lot of peeps kept coming over here to fight me, so this was kind of nice to get content for my video. So this is the Harbinger. He's going to get me with a couple floats, but he's unable to burst me very well, or I just have the damage reduction. That's awesome. Mid-dodge, sorry bro. So yeah, he got the float, that's where they unload, but for whatever reason he must not have had his rotation ready because he didn't load me. Now I'm loaded. And I will say, a lot of these fights I had to work for. The ones where I get the stun locks just right and they're not ready, don't have stun breaks, yeah, you don't have to work for those, those are easy. And I love to detonate my skill 3 in Shroud before it runs out. More controls, another guy coming in to help him out. So just this showcases how well this build performs. And if you're already familiar with Necro, the learning curve is a lot faster. Like I said, I was about 45 minutes to an hour practice before I started on this. If you run Power Reaper, this is almost the exact same thing, just with different skills, so the transition is really easy. Okay, we got both my peeps. We're going to back off a little bit. Okay. Alright, so we're coming to the end of this video. This was a great video. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, but I think you will really enjoy this, especially if you like playing Necro. Very powerful roaming build. I just want to thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a most excellent day.